Welcome to Pints and Politics. I'm your host, Dan Parsons. This is episode number 33. And as you know, Pints and Politics is a event-driven conversation with people who matter in the community, who are doing important things. And most importantly, we do it and talk politics and talk about issues the way that we ought to talk about politics, and that is while enjoying a delicious Nebraska craft beer. So welcome. Let me introduce our guests today. I'm pleased to welcome Lancaster County Commissioner Sean Flowerday. Sean.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
It's about the darn time.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for months now, so no, I'm glad we can make it work out.
Yeah, and Sean, just for our listeners and viewers that don't know your background, tell us a little bit about how in the heck you got here today.
Sure. Like on the county board or what we're talking about today?
No, on the county board, yeah. Give us a
well, it reads like a demon's resume. So I kind of grew up working in just local politics in Lincoln, Nebraska. I spent 3.5 years working in state corrections, and then another 3.5 years working as the administrator for a private child welfare agency before. Honestly, it was the 2016 election. I'd always been involved in local politics, so I was a local party person. But after 2016, I was there's no love lost between me and the former president. I can say that now. I was sitting around with my head in my hands, thinking about what I could do, and it just kind of struck me like a bolt of lightning that I should run for local office. The county just made the most sense in terms of, my interests are really focused around criminal justice reform, and renewable energy, and that just made a lot of sense for the county board. And it happened to be that there was very likely going to be an open seat where I was living. So I decided to, after about 6 months of sitting around with my head in my hands, to get up and try to go run for office and make my community better, I thought. So.
Well, and you have, Sean. You absolutely
tried.
Have. And you just finished your term as chair of the county board, and so. Right. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Some fine work.
We just rotated out. Rick Vest is the new chair. He was my vice chair, and so he's got the next year.
Yeah, very good. Well, and you are, I've learned this because I've known you for a while, and we've shared beers in the past, and your knowledge about renewable energies in the state is great. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is renewable energy and a proposal that you've helped spearhead to make renewable energy a little bit easier in Lincoln and Lancaster County. So
I've tried, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, and welcome a renewed, a veteran. Well,
I don't
a
know if I
veteran
made
of
veteran status.
Yeah,
but I'm a two-timer now.
Yeah, Josh Moenning.
How many
welcome.
tours makes you a veteran?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the question here. But it's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back, Josh. Josh is the mayor of Norfolk, and also tonight, since we're talking about renewable energies, Josh is the director of a group called New Power Nebraska. Tell us a little bit about New Power Nebraska.
Yeah, we are an organization that advocates for clean energy development throughout the state of Nebraska, both wind and solar. We've primarily focused on wind. We've seen a lot of development throughout the state, especially in the last 4 to 5 years, because Nebraska has so much potential. There's so much wind resource here. We were a little bit slow to adapt and adopt the industry compared to neighboring states, but we're catching up bit by bit thanks to local leaders like Sean and others who see the opportunity in clean energy generation, both as a climate solution and a market opportunity, because it's both.
And economic development. And by the way, we if you missed, and sorry I didn't look up what episode, this is episode number 33. If you go back a couple episodes, you can see Josh and David Levy, an attorney with Bayard Home, and we talked about renewable energy, and we talked about what you've done in Norfolk and the wonderful work that you're doing in Norfolk. So,
local government's the best place to be. You can
absolutely
actually see stuff get done once in a while.
Absolutely, things really start to devolve on the state level, and by the time you're at the federal level, it's just
it's
just
yes, that's exactly right. Well, and this is a monumental, important day. This is being recorded on Wednesday, January 20th. and we got a new president today. So no matter where you're at on the political spectrum, today is a very historic day. So, but we're here to talk about renewable energies and what's going on in Lincoln and Lancaster County. But before we do that, as our viewers and listeners know, this is just an excuse for me to get together with my friends and drink beer. So let's talk about what we're drinking tonight. So our friends at White Elm Brewery, which is just down the street here in the Haymarket, we are drinking, at least the two of us are, a beer called Flat Roofin', English style brown porter. And then Josh is drinking an IPA
Skinny Legs.
called Skinny Legs.
Yep.
And so thanks to White Elm Brewing, and cheers, guys.
Yeah,
Cheers.
absolutely.
Thank you, Dan. Cheers.
Cheers.
And this is lovely.
Yeah, Flat Roofin's kind of one of my favorite session beers. It's been a standard of mine for at least a couple of years now. I like it.
And we'll put the notes in the notes section of the podcast. So, and where you can find this at White Elm Brewing. Well, let's talk about why we're here. And Josh is back in Lincoln today from Norfolk because there was a hearing today before the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission, and they were discussing a proposal, Sean, that you really had a lot to do with, and that is trying to convince people that the reason that we don't have more wind energy here in Lancaster County is because there's some really restrictive regulations on the books, and you're trying to change that. So tell us about that.
And let's be clear. I mean, it's the most restrictive regulations in the state. Like, it's just not even close, right? You look at where Lancaster County sits in terms of our sound regulations. We're sitting at 37 decibels during the nighttime, 40 decibels during the day. Your average dishwasher sits between 45 and 50 decibels, right? We're talking about measuring it at the exterior wall of a non-participating residence. That's really what we're talking about here. And these are, when you go look at the other counties in the state, you just go down the line, and it's 50, 50, 60, 60, 45, 50, 60, 45, 50. And it's just so clear that no one else is down in the 30s. Only Gage County even touches 40. 40 is Gage County's nighttime restriction, and then in the day they operate at 45. So this all started, really this goes back to this proposal that we're looking at right here that the Planning Commission was meeting on, goes back to the Lancaster County Board was looking at wind regulations back in March, I think it was, of 2019. And at that time, there was a 1 mile setback instituted. We very quickly had a vote to reconsider. A commissioner was trying to give an appropriate, comfortable setback to people living in the community, which I think is right, by the way.
Sure.
And frankly, overshot the mark. And he would tell you that he overshot the mark, and that wasn't what his intent was, because at a 1 mile setback, you've just regulated wind energy right out of the county. It's not going to happen.
And explain that a little bit, Sean.
A 1 mile setback from the place of the turbine to a non-participating resident, so a home that is not involved in the wind project itself. At 1 mile, you've excluded your county from the possibilities of wind energy. So we ended up coming to a compromise. We settled on 5 times turbine height as the setback. But when we settled on that, and I voted for that, when we settled on that, I made a very public statement that I think many people have been surprised that I followed through on. I made a very public statement that if we didn't see a special permit come forward from a wind developer in the next year, I was going to try to build support to adjust these regulations lower again. And, well, we waited a year. Actually, we waited closer to 18 months, and then COVID hit, and that slowed some things down too. But we waited almost 2 years now, and we decided to move forward with it again.
So Josh, as mayor of Norfolk, I mean, you've seen the opportunities that renewable energy has brought to the city of Norfolk and Madison County. Talk a little bit about, the economic development aspect of renewable energy.
Yeah, we've seen it in numerous ways. And
that's
why I'm not afraid to talk about why clean energy is such an opportunity for both rural and urban Nebraska. In Northeast Nebraska, we've been the hotbed of new energy development in the last few years. The resource is good. You've seen counties in that region of the state who have been a little more pragmatic about embracing this as an opportunity. There's still concerns. We still hear concerns. But you've had local elected officials in a lot of cases say, okay, this is an opportunity for us to allow property owners to utilize their resources to generate new income. And so they've established reasonable regulations for wind and now solar. And we're seeing the economic benefits, like you said, and that comes in the form of new jobs, new farm income, and new tax revenue. And I can say for Norfolk's part, sitting in the middle of 2 or 3 wind farm projects over the last 2 to 3 summers, our sales tax receipts as a city are higher than they've ever been.
Really?
And I think that construction phase spending at these big farms, because each project brings in about 200 to 300 construction workers, and they're staying in Norfolk, they're eating at our restaurants, drinking at the bars, staying at the hotels, spending at our hardware stores. All of that has really been a major factor in new business activity, and that's really helped in the last 2 years when you consider we had a 500-year flood in 2019 and a pandemic in 2020. So
That's awesome.
It's been real. So we can talk about real life benefits of this. It's playing itself out.
That's so vital that to be able to have that, and he's looking on the city side of things on sales tax revenue. On the county side of things, I'm spending all my time looking at increased property taxes, right? So a 250 megawatt wind farm in Lancaster County would be something right around about $340,000 a year of increased revenue to the county. That's quite a few bridges.
That's
That's just to the county. That's not talking about your school districts, which benefit greatly as well.
Right, absolutely. It would be I think a 250 megawatt wind farm total is more like 1.6 million in total property tax revenue. That's just on the county level. We're at 300. We'd be at 340. So that's a good point.
Well, in this day and age of continuing to watch budgets as you do between corrections and roads, you're constantly and other factors. You're constantly having to watch that bottom line. So these are opportunities. And
I would just add, Dan,
yeah,
to that,
please.
Sorry, we continually have this revolving door discussion on property taxes in the state, how they're so high, but we never talk about the growth factor and the opportunities for growth to grow the tax base. And that's exactly what clean energy does.
Couldn't have said it better. It's real rural economic development. Everyone talks about wanting that. This is what it actually looks like.
And Sean, if you could talk a little bit about, we actually know of an opportunity that has been presented here in Lincoln and Lancaster County from a company that has wants to make a deal with NPPD to have 100% renewable energy.
Right. Monolith, which is right here. They're just sitting just outside of Hallam, Nebraska, right here in Lancaster County. They want to be 100% renewable energy powered, and they want to do it all from right here in Nebraska. I love renewable energy wherever it comes from, but I really like it when it's bringing in revenue here into our home state. And Monolith, they're really, really great, corporate partners. They're really good partners for our community. And so we're happy to have them here, and we're excited about what they've announced with NPPD.
And that's just the one that has been publicly announced.
Right.
As we know, there are other things going on behind the scenes,
absolutely.
More opportunities.
These big corporations like Facebook, like Google, like Amazon, that have been looking at Nebraska, they see the benefits of Silicon Prairie, and they want renewable energy. This is real meaningful economic growth that we can have right here in our community. COVID has really rewritten the rules on where people can work, and a lot of people are running from the coast now and looking to mid-sized communities in the Midwest where, frankly, it's the good life, right? It's very livable, it's very cheap out here, and they can have the lifestyles, they can have the careers that they've experienced out on the coast, and still enjoy, frankly, our cheap cost of living out here.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the opposition. Josh, I'm sure with the projects you've worked with across the state and up in Norfolk. What are some of the oppositions of people who say, not in my backyard, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard it today too. Inevitably, you have people who say, "Oh, I like clean energy. We're all for clean energy. Just not here. We just shouldn't do it here, right?" And the reasons you hear people say that in a lot of cases, not typically grounded in fact or real life experience. The first thing I do with someone having a conversation about this is ask, have you ever been to a wind farm? Have you been to an operational wind farm? Have you stood at the base of a tower and had a conversation like we're having now? And frankly, your heating system's louder than the wind turbine would be.
You got a cooler and a heater that's quite a bit louder than any wind turbine I've ever stood under.
And so there's just a lot of preconceived notions on this. And part of that's politics, part of it's not in my backyard, I don't want to see it. Some people just don't want to see them, right? They've got acreages, they want to live out in the country, but they don't want to experience country life, whether it's agriculture or now energy generation. So there's, at this, with all that said, I think it's the responsibility of local officials to say, okay, look, let's have a reasonable discussion based in facts, based in science, and let's find a way to enable legal business activity that allows the property rights of someone who wants to generate new income on their property to go forward while also respecting neighbors' concerns in a reasonable way.
Right. Because it is from we're talking about property and land that is agriculture based.
Absolutely.
And so we all know, because we live in Nebraska, how important agriculture is to our economy. And let's face it, it's been pretty rough for ag producers in recent years. And to have an alternative source of income for agriculture is a panacea.
Absolutely.
Lease payments are the equivalent of a part-time job for a lot of farmers, and that is a lifesaver, literally, for a lot of farm operators.
Whether they, somebody that maybe wants to pass that land on to their children or grandchildren, they now can hold on to that land and be able to do that because they have an alternative source of income.
It's the factor that means a lot of people can make it to the next year. Absolutely. One thing I want to mention just about rural income here regarding Lancaster County too is I think there's this perception, because Lincoln's the second biggest city in the state, that Lancaster County, we're not really a rural county. Lincoln is 1/9 of Lancaster County. Lincoln is 96 square miles. Lancaster County is 840 square miles. We're the third largest county in the state of Nebraska. We just got a lot of land out there. Engineer Pam Dingman will tell you any day how many miles of road that she's trying to keep up and running. So absolutely, Lincoln is a major city for Nebraska. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of area out there in Lancaster County, and it doesn't mean that we're going to be building wind farms right up next to the suburbs of Lincoln either.
Well, and my friend Pam Dingman, the county engineer, I'm sure Pam would love to have some more income for roads and bridges. I mean, it's been a huge problem. I'm sure Pam would love to have some more income. So Pam, if you're watching this, I'll make sure you do. Let's get you some more income for bridges and roads and all that infrastructure that we need to continue to grow this city and to grow this county. Yep. And I know from a city planner and a administrative perspective, the mayor of Lincoln has gone on record supporting clean energy, and because it's just the right thing to do.
Oh, the community here has made it very, very clear that this is what they want. LES has set a 2040 carbon neutral goal. The mayor, Mayor Gaylor Baird, she is the green mayor, right? I mean, that's what largely her platform has been based on all the way through. You've got the Journal Star editorial board just this morning announced climate change as the #1 pressing issue before us. You've got UNL setting a 2050 carbon neutral date. This community wants renewable energy. They've made that abundantly clear.
Well, and as of today, we have a new president who is very. I invest a little bit in the stock market, and since the election, I've seen renewable energy stocks
Yeah, it's
just go through the ceiling.
It's been pretty good, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And so, yeah, I mean, now is the time. I mean, it's and for those rural people who are in that area and want to see continued growth. I mean, it's also a property rights issue. You know, if I own this land, I ought to be able to decide what happens with this land.
Yeah. You know, Nebraska's never been in the position before being an energy producer. We're not an oil and gas state, but we are a wind and solar state. I mean, top 5 in wind potential, 3rd to be specific, and actually top 10 in solar.
Right.
Some people don't realize that,
Right.
but it's
Right.
true.
Right.
And so just immense potential if we only embrace the opportunity as such. And that means everything from new business investment, because the development that's happening in Nebraska is being driven by the marketplace. That's another thing that I hear, a red herring from opponents. Oh, this is just government support, it's all subsidy based. No, this is being driven by the marketplace because renewables are cost competitive. In fact, they're cheaper than coal and very close to natural gas, and sometimes cheaper than natural gas at this point. The city of Norfolk is investing directly in a community solar project. As we did the pricing for that project, we found that we will be paying about 20% less for the solar energy that we get from that solar array than we're paying NPPD for their conventional energy mix, which is primarily coal and nuclear.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating.
And wind is cheaper than solar.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch this evolution. I've been involved in the clean energy and renewable energies for probably the last 10 years. Had some clients that have done some things in the state. And to see that change in attitude, not only from the public, but also from utilities. And we're blessed in Nebraska to have the only 100% public power state in America, thanks to George Norris and his vision of being able to have cheap, affordable energy. And we get to make those decisions because we're the policyholders. We're the stakeholders in those utilities, LES, NPPD, OPPD. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is all of those utilities can tap into a power plant in Lincoln, Nebraska to help them with their load, whether it's NPPD or OPPD or LES. And so the ability for Lincoln, Nebraska and Lancaster County to not only have clean energy, but to have an economic base that is expanding is pretty remarkable. And so Sean, where do we go from here after this hearing today before the Planning Commission? This measure now will go back to you on the county board.
Right. So how this began is the county board voted to basically reconsider the wind, wind regulations, and we sent that to the planning department staff. We asked them to put forward some recommendations. They put that before the Planning Commission, and then that comes to us again after that. So it's kind of a full circle. We asked for new suggestions. That's come back around to us.
And that hearing before you is coming up in a couple weeks?
It'll be a few weeks. I think it has to be. It is not yet scheduled. It has to be scheduled. I think no later than like 45 days. Can be scheduled as soon as 2 weeks. Well, I think we'll get it scheduled as soon as we can, as soon as practical.
And if people want to weigh in with their opinions and support or not support,
right,
how do they do that?
You can contact the county clerk's office, and I can provide you with those details. I don't have them on me right now. And there is options for, you can do in-person testimony, Zoom testimony. You can write a letter that then becomes part of the record. All of those are options.
And there's been some pretty significant support. I mean, we saw
absolutely.
it today before the Planning Commission. Former state senators,
current state senators.
Yeah, great support from the Lincoln state senators supporting clean energy.
Yeah.
Josh, for Nebraska as a whole, as New Power Nebraska, as you've been across the state, I loved your comment that if you doubt how efficient and important wind energy or solar energy is, go out and tour and see some of these.
Yeah.
The potential for both wind and solar in Nebraska, we're one of the top producers of opportunities in America, right?
Yeah, the potential is certainly there. I mean, we have some room to catch up to neighboring states that have been a little bit more aggressive in seeking the opportunity, even with less resource. I mean, Iowa's got much less resource than Nebraska, but 5 times as much production right now. So that just tells you
We're
how much
catching up.
opportunity there is. And it really, I can't overstate how important it can be to a local regional economy to have energy production as an economic driver, whether it's the jobs that are created. Your viewers might be interested to know that wind energy tech, solar energy tech, fastest growing job in the country. It's the fastest growing job in Nebraska right now. And we've got community colleges, Northeast Community College, I think Southeast does some,
Yes, they
that
do.
are having programs churn out graduates where 10 years ago they had to go to Minnesota or Iowa to find jobs. They can start careers, good paying careers, right here. A lot of times in rural Nebraska, rural Lancaster, rural Madison County, it's all good. I mean, the thing I really like about this is it benefits both rural and urban Nebraska. And the Facebook model is a tremendous example of that. Facebook, the only reason they built a data center outside Omaha is because they could get their power from a Northeast Nebraska wind farm. And there are deals like that for the taking for Nebraska
absolutely.
if we just decide that we want to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for sharing a beer. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for being leaders, both of you in the state, for clean, renewable energy. And if our viewers and listeners want to get involved, we'll put those notes in the podcast so you can contact Sean and the county board, contact New Power Nebraska and encourage them. As we wrap up, let me just thank our sponsor, Warhorse Gaming, for their sponsorship of Pints and Politics. Our producer, Steve Van Hoosen. Steve, thanks for your great work. We never see Steve. Nobody knows what he looks like, but he's behind the camera. Kim Remington, our operations manager at Parsons Public Relations. Kim, you didn't have to retrieve beers for us tonight.
Well, it started with spares.
Yeah,
pace ourselves.
but it's nice.
Maybe you.
The Pints and Politics theme music that you might be hearing about now is produced and written by Jack Rodenberg, a wonderful Lincoln family. Fuse Co-working, where we're sitting here in the heart of the Haymarket, Parsons Public Relations. And I want to thank our guests, Commissioner Sean Flowerday, Mayor Josh Moenning with New Power Nebraska. Gentlemen, thank you for sharing your expertise and cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for
Enjoyed
having
it.
me.